to the Staff Scholarship Winners presentation, ladies and gentlemen. And each year the AACB staff get the opportunity to submit a proposal for the annual Staff Scholarship. And we want to thank Business Events Australia and Qantas for making the Staff Scholarship possible each year. And last year, Vibhor Pandey, who's the Manager of Market Research and Lead Generation for the Brisbane Convention Bureau, was in fact the successful applicant. Vibhor proposed to attend the ICCA's first ever association meeting program that was held in Norway, and you're going to find out all about that. So you please congratulate and welcome to the stage Vibhor Pandey.
Today, when you stand today and look into your past, you will see certain patterns emerging. These could be events, people, or things which change the way who you are today. On that note, I would like to thank AACB, Qantas, and Tourism Australia for giving this platform an opportunity and empowering us to become impactful professionals and be innovative in our approach. I would also like to thank my team for their support. I remember I was trying to pin down one idea which I would like to submit for the scholarship, and I was casually chatting with one of my colleagues, Kylie McKenzie, and she said, you know, this is your project. Own it to enjoy it. And that struck me. I work as a market research and lead generation manager. My work involves dealing with information, data, understanding the market, at the same time generating new leads, new opportunities, building the pipeline. And in this nexus, I work with International Convention and Congress Association, which is ICA. I work with associations. I work with universities, people research, numbers, trends, meetings, new businesses. This multiple variables is very complex. This industry was really new to me. I thought I would submit something which is close to my heart. I wanted to submit a submission where I can show where my passion lies. And I submitted for ICA, which is International Convention Congress Association, to meet associations, also meet the bureaus or the bureau delegates, to understand what happens among these three. And I chose to go to Norway, which is ICA's first AMP Congress Association Meetings Program, which is nothing but, if you know RSMP, which is Research Sales Meeting Program, RSMP on a steroid is AMP. So what they did, they beefed up the process. They invited 30 association executives as a faculty, they call it, and they invited 60 or 80 bureaus. They invited venues, they invited suppliers. So everybody in the ecosystem was there to talk, to challenge, to understand, to share. And that part was really inspiring to understand how people work. And I went from an island to Europe, where you can literally, the moment you walk into in a conference floor, you can see people from Europe or North America. The way they were talking, you can see they know each other well. They share things a lot than us. So I'm going to talk about three things today. First, I'll talk about destination, what I learned from Norway. Never been there, first time in any Scandinavian country. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about ICA, what ICA does, what do they have, like what tools do they have, and how do they empower us to do what we do. And I'm going to talk about associations. Are they humans? Yes, they are. And before I went, I sent out a couple of surveys to researchers to understand what are challenges which we are facing at the moment, and also to know how can we work together. And what we did, if I had to sum up the whole conversation, the whole experience, the whole conference in one word, that would be partnerships. Everybody talked about partnerships. Let's start with the destination, Norway. First thing that comes to my mind when I say Norway is the pristine nature, the beautiful landscapes, those fjords, those northern lights. And if you studied their advertising campaigns, what they talk about in their print copy, in the digital copy, their tagline, their punchline is powered by nature, inspired by nature. Last couple of years, they have been something around nature. And they're very open about it. They're very blunt about it. They're very confident about it. I mean, it is but obvious. And being a researcher, I don't take any information on its face value or the base value. I must validate. I went and checked. This place is called Chirag, which is 3.5 hours away from Stavanger, where the conference was held. Beautiful location. Now I'm going to share 3 things which I learned from Norway. One, the right to nature. The moment you walk into a country, in that country, you will understand you can't take Norway out of nature or nature out of Norway, be it the business, community, or the government. The nature is on their first and foremost agenda. What I'm showing you here is Norwegian dream. Every individual, okay, a majority of it, a majority of individuals want to own a cabin in the woods. That's how close they are in the nature. Second, I would like to share about openness. When I say openness, it's not the personality I'm talking about. It's the open to change. It's open to innovate. It's open for new ideas. It's open for collaboration. They're very open. I found them very open in the way they deal in their day-to-day life. And whenever I visit any country or city, just my personal choice, I try and understand the architecture of that city or country. If you look at the older buildings or new buildings, you will see some stories. They tell a story. Top half of the slide is Oslo's Opera House. If you look at the architecture, it's open, inviting. You can walk on it. You can run on it. You can eat on it. It's very open. That's how I interpret it. And that's how I found Norwegians. They're very open. When you do business with Norwegian association, they're very open about it. They're very straightforward about it. Second half of the slide, bottom half, is a normal residence in Norway. They have large windows, no curtains, because they expect you to be honest, not to look into the windows. So that honesty, that transparency is what Norwegian culture is. And that's how when we deal with associations, people from Norway, you get to see that. Third, innovation and collaboration. Remember, there are 2 I's in innovation. If you understand Norwegian economy, the GDP is $500 billion US, and 25% comes from the oil which they sell, and they know pretty much the oil is not sustainable. And what they do, they save 65 to 70% of their oil money into a fund called Future Fund. And that fund is managed by an organization called, operating body called Innovation Norway. They manage that fund. They fund startups, they fund entrepreneurship, they fund tourism, they fund trade, etc. And I will not go far to give you an empirical evidence like why they are innovative, they are collaborative. What I learned from Griffith University researchers, they've done research on Norway, understanding the role of the government in Norway. What they found, this is a huge report, publicly available, they found there is no Ministry of Tourism in Norway. It comes under Ministry and Trade. industry and trade. Innovation Norway, from the fund, the Future Fund, they manage the tourism operations. What do they have there? They have a private sector, one homogeneous cluster. Second, they have national government, second homogeneous clusters. And these two heterogeneous clusters operate together under tourism innovation, which is Innovation Norway. Very simple approach. That's what I learned from when I met the bureaus, Oslo, Bergen, Stavanger. Most recent innovation and collaboration examples which they gave me, they're working with Airbnb superhosts. They're training them on destination. They're training them how to treat guests. They're training them how to have repeat guests. So that's a new thing which I heard, like working with Airbnb, sharing economy. They know it's going to be there. It's going to come. That was destination. Now I'm going to talk about ICA, the ICA AMP Congress, the conference, the content, what they shared. These are the delegates who came for ICA, 130 of them. And if you're looking for some familiar faces, that's me and Lena from Tourism Australia's London office. So why did we go there? From RSMP to AMP, what was the need to change? ICA identified during their surveys or talking with delegates who attended RSMP in past that fantastic program. Understand what you're saying. Data researchers tell you how to use their tools. They tell you how to research about meetings. They tell you what associations do, how they take business. But there was something else was missing. They wanted more robust approach, more collaborative approach. The way the content was designed in such a way that each and every session was started with a challenging question. They were to ask question, and we used to brainstorm it, solve it, and report it back to the team panel, and then panel discussions. It was very new concept which I have seen so far. I have not run many conferences, but it was a fantastic conference. Everybody was engaged before lunch, after lunch. And I'm going to share 3 things today what I learned from ICA conference. Before I went to ICA, if you have done media scanning in past 2 years or 3 years, you must have seen everybody's talking about big data. Not many people know about it. What is big data? And they're not even sharing how they're using the big data. But everybody's talking about it. It's a catchphrase. It's a drinking game. And by the time I went to ICA, I was like, please. But I realized we need to understand the fundamentals, how ICA plays with the words. What is big data? So I met with ICA data researchers and the guy who handles big data tool at ICA, also with associations, how they manage the big data in their industry. So ICA's big data is nothing but Google Scholar data, publicly available, and Microsoft Academic Research data, which is also publicly available. They combine these 2 databases. They do structured query language, and they give you the search tool, and they give you the geo-tagged researchers or professors which you're looking for. That's search tool by ICA. Why it is important for us is to have the variety of the data which we have in our business, not only just information about meeting, but also about other industries. Second, which we talked about, is data integrity and how to improve it. If you're using ICA tools, you will know the meeting details are not updated quite often. They are 12 months, 6 months old. And like any CRM tool, any CRM, it's a CRM, like database, online CRM. It's a database. For any database, data integrity is important, and it's a user-driven. So, and I keep talking with people that say CRM is a philosophy, it's not a tool. So you need to understand that level. We have to be participative in that how we help them, and that's where the partnership relationship comes into the picture. How can we help ICA to use that? Because we are paying them, we need to make sure that we get the right data, and we submit the right data, and that's very important. Understand the big data trends in meeting industries. I was chatting with associations from epilepsy, from diabetes, from UITP, how they're utilizing any information which they have. And during those conversations which I had one-on-one with data researchers, I found one concept which I would like to share today. In 5 years ago, what we had, let's say in a meetings market, delegates used to come to a city to attend a conference, and we used to have a couple of touch points where they landed, where the visa was stamped, et cetera, et cetera. We had 5, 6, or 10 touch points to understand what were their experience on those touch points. Those could be physical touch points or digital touch points. So we understand, okay, how to enhance the experience around those touch points. But in recent years, what happened because of the digital transformation, we have million touch points now. And we have multiple experiences on each and every touch point. So what is happening at the moment? We're getting those touch point data in volumes. We're getting those touch point data in velocity because of the online internet availability. We're getting those data in thick and fast. We used to get frequencies in weeks, months, but now you can get it by hour, by minute, real time. And at the same time, because there are multiple data touch points, you have a variety of the data. So you also need to understand how your spatial industry is growing vis-a-vis your visualization industry. And when you have varieties and volumes and velocity, you get the veracity, because not each and every data you will use to tell the story. So getting the value out of the data is very important. And that's why it's very important to understand what skills, what tools, what softwares we need in future to manage this big data. Second thing which I learned from the conference was challenges in the information architecture. Why are we so information paralyzed? Is it not because of skills or availability? It's for 3 things which I understood from ICA conference. It's poorly organized. Why? Because it's multiple sources of validation. That's the constraint. We have to live with that. We have to find tools, softwares. We can standardize the process. We need to see where we can streamline those data coming into our place, and we need to have the data strategy. Second, it's a convention collectives. I heard people talking about it. Convention industry is an output industry. It's based on how your destination marketing is moving. It depends how your leisure tourism is going. It's how your political or economical or social or technological challenges in your country is happening. Conferences are the knowledge industry. They're not events industry or meeting industry. It's a knowledge industry. So we need to understand that. And that's why they say it's a collective approach we need to take. Third point which I learned, which alludes to Chris' point, short-term goals with long-term focus. Vienna Convention Bureau surveys their delegates, Bureau and Center surveys their delegates for the last 10 years. And what they measure, they measure and monitor all their satisfaction, 5 questions, how you felt at the center. And in the last 5 years, they felt that satisfaction among female delegates are going down at one point. Why is it happening? So drill down further. They drilled down on dissect the data, and they found they had to stand longer in the queue, or longer in the queue for the toilets. So they dipped even deeper. They say, where the verbatims, why they're standing in a toilet queue longer. They concluded, it's not me, it's Vienna Convention Center and Bureau said it, that going to a toilet for females is a social activity. That's why it takes time. So they're implementing this strategy for future design aspect. They're having more toilets for females than males. If they have not collected those data, they will not know. That's why we must have the short-term goals for the long-term focus. At the end of the conference, and with all the content which they shared, and based on my one-on-one research with all the people, 3 things I learned from the conference. 1, the data is the new oil. You can't ignore it. We need to have the data strategy. We all have the data strategy. We have been in silos. How can we do it together? Destination sustainability is very vital. Mining industry, we had mining boom. Are we going into a dining boom? We need to find those new industry which can take us on the road, on the journey all the time. So it's very important to have those sustainable industries, sustainable innovation in our country. It's very important. Third, which Karen rightly said, community-owned, community-operated. We must have the sense of community. And sense of community comes from sense of responsibility. And the business events community must have that sense of responsibility, that I'm responsible for delivering the economic impact to the city. There are three things that I learned from talking with data researchers and associations. Last is associations. It was hit and miss. I had good chats with all the association executives talking about them, what challenge do they face, test them, are they really human, and they were not opening many cards. They were not telling all the story, but they said, you need to understand we are all humans. And they said, it's very basic. There are two things. How do we trade off for when we choose a destination? Cash is king versus destination value proposition. So it's not like we look at the cash, always cash. It is important. We are all short budgeted. All the associations are going through consolidation, short budgeted. But they need to understand what is the destination going to give. What is their value proposition? That's very important. And they see their the trademark. Second, they have their underlying emotions to go for a city, go for a country. This could be anything, advocacy, membership, et cetera, et cetera. So we must understand their strategic vision. What is the vision where they want to head? What's the one-off event? Sometimes they just go random location. Maybe the cash was king. We don't know. But we must understand that we can't chase one association at one time and say, OK, you didn't come to my destination, next time you're not going to come, blacklisted. So they have this trade-off again. Third point, diabetes lady mentioned that it's always about the people. Make sure you have researchers sitting on committees in the international associations. Make sure you have the representation. It's all about the people. You cannot do anything without people. So it's very knowledge-driven industry. So today, when we stand here and we look into the past and the future, what do we see? How we can work together, all the bureaus, how the meeting industry can work together, all the whole ecosystem, and how we can form better policies and have better practices. Thank you.
Thank you.